right, good evening. This is your PC, the People's Counselor, sitting in for your community epidemiologist, Sister Simpson. Once again, we are going to represent or talk about Tacts, which is the Association of Clinical Trial Services, and we are truly pushing the paradigm of health equities. Basically, we want to continue this discussion so that we can help people to get a better understanding and advocate to make sure that you get the services you need and not just what they want to give you. I am a substance abuse counselor by trade, and I've been seeing a lot of, chickenery, if you will, when it comes to people getting the time that they need to get better. And unfortunately, a lot of these insurance companies are dictating who gets what and how long they get to stay in treatment. It's not based on what the client needs. It's based on what they deem to be a medical necessity. And at this point, that is just unfair and it's not right. We have people that come into treatment that's been using 10, 15, 20 years, and they want to give them a 5-day or a 3-day detox, and of course that's not nearly enough. Then they wonder why the recidivism rate is so high. So we're going to continue to have this discussion about health equities because I think that it is a needed discussion, and we need to make sure that we talk with our legislators about getting some bills drafted up, some policies written, so that we can start to make sure that those people that we vote for that works on our behalf is truly working on our behalf. I know that for a fact that when it comes to a lot of the legislation, particularly in some of the substance abuse treatment programs and the budgeting, that we have lost several programs over the last couple of years. I think Entry House is gone. We done lost a couple of other ones. Programs is shutting down their doors or either limiting their programs. So truly, we have to make sure that we get the financing and the resources that we need to stay healthy. We know that we're in the midst of an opiate epidemic. We know that there's a lot of mental illness going on out there nowadays with the shooting that happened in Florida, and I tell you, they just dropped the ball on that completely, but we have to be willing to stand up and hold people accountable. I really applaud the young people in Florida for standing up and going at their legislators. We as being Africans in America have to do the same thing. We have a lot of things going on in our communities. I was just talking to someone about some of the recent school closings. That's going to have a real negative impact, on our young people. So we definitely have to make sure that we start to push some more and try to make sure that we get the funding that we need to get these programs up and running to address the needs of our young people. We know that what they call the prison industry complex is truly a breeding ground, if you will, for the negative behaviors. And I know I read somewhere where they say about 1 in 3 young men is going to be incarcerated by the time they're 20, at least be in the system, So we have to do something to change that paradigm, okay? So we have to definitely look at this health equities piece, and that's our Tacts logo. And of course, with diversity comes a cure, and increases the diversity in clinical trials. So we have to make sure that we do that. Okay? All right. So with that being said, I want to introduce Sister who is coming in and to talk a little bit more about this health equities and this mental health issue. All right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Well, Hi everyone! Happy New Year, Happy New You. I'm Simpson, the community epidemiologist for Tacts, as you just heard, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. And you were just listening to our Vice President and our People's Counselor, Mr. Charles Patton. So thank you, Charles, for taking on. Of course, I've been in traffic, but that's no excuse. Hey. Well, you know what? I had so much that I wanted to talk about and that I want to go over, and we have our slides just so you know. We always deal with health equity. We always deal with what equity is and what it isn't. Equity is not equality, which is the sameness. Equity means getting the resource that you need the most. And if you could see this depiction, it really is saying not the same boxes, but the boxes that get us to where we want to, go. So we always stress health equity on this show. That is the mission, part of the mission, I should say, of Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. So that's what we do for KNTV here. We want to make sure that we get those definitions to you and that you have a way of hearing about something new that you may not have heard before. And as we talk about health equity, we do look at it in a triangle. I mean, it's in the middle here, but we talk about the policy changes. We talk about how we have the what we call institutional changes, and of course the one that I want you to focus on is the community changes. That's where you are. You're the community. So we want you to focus on that part of health equity that feeds into policy and into institutions. Institutions being the universities, the industries, pharma and insurance companies. All of that's together, whether we think so or not. So we want to make sure that we stress that to you all. If you had questions about what health equity is or is not, you can always give a dialogue here at 312-738-1060. Mr. Charles Patton is going to be waiting to hear from you if you have a question specifically around that concept of health equity. We definitely want to make sure that we talked about last time our year in review, but I don't want to really deal with the year in review anymore because technically we've had some issues that have come up. And as we always say, our current life. We had a mass shooting in Florida among these high school students, among people who every day you would never have expected something like this would have happened. But when it does happen, we're always knee-jerk reaction is, how could it have happened to this? Never happened before. Of course, it's never happened before, but that's what makes it even more heartbreaking. So first and foremost, we must, in my tradition, in the tradition of people, we always give what we call a salutations, a condolences. Some people say a moment of silence. Some people say a grounding. We just want to say that those human lives mattered. The big word is mattered now. But it was us. What really is bothering us is just because it was unnecessary. I mean, it's just not what high school children should be going through. And yes, they are children. They are still under 18, regardless of their age. It happened. A young man was impacted himself, and then he impacted others. And Charles and I talked about this because if you didn't know, he's the People's Counselors. If you need information about substance abuse counseling, please call in to 312-738-1060. Charles is also a substance abuse counselor. That's what he means by the People's Counselor. But we really were getting deep into this. What preventions could we have taken? In which I've heard there's been some. He was notably the shooter, being he, was known to have had red flags. So if somebody saw it as a red flag, that means they already knew. And of course, I heard some details about it today at my job. He had, was put out of school a year ago. Both of his parents are deceased. I don't know how true any of this is. What I really want to discuss is the mentality behind it. If we can't do prevention, then how do we do intervention? If you don't do the preventing part, which failed, it failed, you all. It failed him and us as a society. Because the prevention did not stop the action. And more importantly, and this is where the discussion really should be going, is the intervention wasn't in place. So everybody's talking about the mental health, the mental health, the mental health, but nobody's given a prescription to how that mental health takes place. Mental health is not what we're really saying. It is actually mentally dysfunctional. It's not healthy. Watch your words. It is not mental health, because health means you're healthy. Your mind, we use the word spirit. Some people say brain, your soul, that which makes you you, has enough in place to prevent you from, as we would say, going over the edge. As my colleague would say, a psychotic break. Psychotic breaks happen when people aren't connected to a source that helps them prevent them from going to the break. That's what happened. I can diagnose, I can not diagnose, but I can give a prescription. I can give a description. That's what epidemiologists do, by the way. What I can't give you is the why it happened. And what I want to give to you is to deal with the mental disabling. Caller, please shed some light for us. Thank you for calling Tacts, the call-in live show for CAN TV.
Yes, great show. You know, first I want to give my condolences to the families and the friends who lost the people that they love. But you know, like you said, it doesn't happen all the time. But here in Chicago, it happens every day. I guess we just lost consciousness of that.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't want to see anybody die. I'm a veteran of Vietnam, and I've seen enough death over there. I don't want to see any death in this great country of ours.
Exactly.
But it happens. It happens. You know, the FBI let down the people of that city and school because they had 3 or 4
Yes.
people calling in. So it's not and believe me, it's not a Republican or Democrat thing. It's a people's thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, caller. Yes, sir.
We all have to get together and stop this, because now it is starting to become more often, just like it happens here in Chicago every day.
Yes,
Please,
sir.
let's talk about getting together. I'm a 70-year-old man, but let's all get together one time at least and beg the people if we have to. Please, guys.
Thank
Put
you.
the
I
guns
appreciate
away
that, caller.
and let's stop all this killing. It'll be a better country. It'll be better for everybody. And it'll be so safe that you can go back on the streets
Yes,
or go
sir.
to a park or whatever you want to do.
Caller, I got to wrap you up. I'm sorry. I'm being pushed on time here, but you have articulated, you said it. It's not a Republican or a Democrat or independent, because I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. It is a people's thing. Caller said it. He said it is a people's thing. And you are so right. Thank you. I always have to be careful, though. We don't want to, look at a tragedy and say, well, this tragedy happened. Bad is bad. Comparing death sometimes is a hard notion. And although we do it because we're like, well, they had their deaths over here, but we had more over here. That is true. We have to have comparative analysis. As an epidemiologist, I am all for comparative analysis. But we also want to utilize, I don't want to say use, but you want to, what's the lesson? That's what I would get from Mr. Charles Patton. He would say, but what's the lesson in this? Did we learn something from the last time it happened at another school? Did we learn anything from when a young man here in Chicago was killed? When the young women here in these young girls were killed who were just standing outside. It is not even 9 years old. Did we say what's the lesson? So Carla was right. We don't want to say either or because both of them are bad. But guess what, y'all? This is happening every day on our streets, and it takes people. So if you want to be a part of a solution, that's what Tacts is talking about, right? I can get into the problems all day. I've given you the description as best as I could. In fact, we have something here that we talk about in reference to health equity equals black unity. Now, I'm doing this because, for black unity, but all unity really, but we focus on black unity here. And we're saying that, as you can see, it's kind of two screens here, or two captions. One is about the campaign, and the other one really has to do with accountability, liability, repercussions, and right perspective. That's what you need to deal with. The accountability is all of our responsibility. The liability is our babies, or our newborns, or our upcoming high school students, right? That's our liability, because now we didn't protect them. We didn't help them. We didn't prevent or intervene. If you don't prevent, you got to do interventions. That's the bottom line, because the next step is what? If you're not preventing something, you're not intervening, then the action of the behavior outcome is that most likely of death. The action happens. And that's what we're trying to prevent or intervene into. The impact on our lives. So you all, we have to do better with this. Describing a problem isn't the answer. We are solution focused here. Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, is on CAN TV because we want to be solution oriented people. We want to be solution oriented, scientifically evidence-based approach. I am a scientist, a research scientist. And although some days I have to be reminded that's what I am, it's not all that I am, of course, but I approach life through a methodology of science. Provide me some evidence. Don't tell me what you feel. Don't tell me what you believe. Tell me what evidence we can use to move forward. Now, I'm not going to get into what's faith and it's the lack of evidence. And I'm not against the faith. I want to minimize the lack of evidence. I want to increase more evidence that says science, technology, moving into the future is where we're going. That's what you're going to be hearing a lot from me. Solutions. They're in the abilities for us in behavior science. If we're not preventing, we better be intervening. That's what mental health is supposed to do. Mental health is supposed to get you to being healthy. So we need to change our word and call it mental interventions. We need to intervene and help people to become stabilized. That young man did what he did. He was not stable in his spirit. Therefore, his soul and his mind and his body evoked that response. He was not supposed to be alone. He didn't have the social networking. He didn't have something in place. Something was missing. And I would dare say it started in the heart. And I'm not speaking just heart. I'm speaking science. Your heart is what emanates that voltage, that emanates that aura, that emanates that movement through how you interact with others. That is scientifically proven. Look it up. And in fact, I will bring some links for you to look it up. We gonna deal with that one. So Tacts is definitely, if you want to be a part of this movement of solution, when you look at this show, you better be writing down some solutions. Not just saying what should be, saying what could and have to be, because you've got evidence to prove that it works. If someone is out there that is working with the aura and the voltage of how the heart emanates, if you're working on solar panels, wind, air, and water, geothermism, please call the show. I'm moving into that direction myself. I am trying to work with others who want to see that become a reality. Because to me, that is how health is going to improve, using science and technology. Thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been a wonderful connection, but it's not enough for just one show once a month. You have to be working on this outside of us. And we want to make sure that you're doing just that. You know, we want to make sure that you are seeing what you can be about. I notice here I have an email, and it's as you can see, the website. But I'm going to be getting my own website as well, hopefully in the next 3 weeks. But we're going to definitely have our future topics come up. But all of this is about, I'm really getting very involved in the whole concept of biotechnology, the whole concept of futurism in science, the concept of how we use our mind and body and spirit within science, and there's evidence for that. We're going to be moving into what I call the mentalist scientific technologist. I need more technologists, you all. What we call mental science technologists. This is a term that I'm using from another group who are promoting and saying that the next wave for us as scientists is to start dealing with how we can heal ourselves within our bodies. Yes, that means less pharmaceuticals. I said it on this show. We need less outside chemicals and more inside chemicals, meaning lessen the toxicity in your bodies from outside chemicals and increase the harmonious concepts of your body so you can heal. That's through mental technologists, and their whole concept is learning how to use the brain waves or the waves within your body. Your whole body is a series of waves. It's definitely, your consciousness is a part of that. Raising that, we call it, in the ancient Chinese way, they'll say your chi. But in the African cosmology, we call it kundalini. So, yeah, I can go on both sides. Huh? But knowing that you got to raise that kundalini, right? Raise that aura to heal yourself. That's the kind of solutions we're talking about. And how do we, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be a researcher, let me tell you what's fundamental. Measurement. Knowing baseline to outcome, knowing how to intervene, put prevention measures in, put intervention measures in, so you can say this worked and this didn't. The one thing about science is comparative analogies, that science says prove me wrong. And when you do, like the earth is not flat. The scientists said prove that the earth is not flat. Subsequently, people were able to prove that as they were moving across the waters, they did not fall off of them. And believe it or not, it wasn't until 1970 that the first time human beings saw the earth from, after, of course, going to the moon, but had World Earth Day, where they saw the big blue globe, as you call it, the marble that was now known as Earth. So we are moving into technology, and you need to move with us. I hope that this inspires you. For my mental technologists, my mental techs as we're calling it, my researchers, my scientists, you need to get at me. We need to formulate our own places here. I will convene a think tank. I'm not sure when, but it's going to happen. And in this think tank, we're going to talk about our agenda. We've got an agenda called the National Black Agenda, but we need to talk about our agenda for health and how that plays out in an impact. So again, utilize or pay homage, give energy to those who passed away, but then don't let their life be in vain. Not even the shooter's life should be in vain. We should see that as what we could have done better. As my colleague here and husband, Mr. Charles Patton, our community epidemiologist, community counselor. I'm Sister Yara, your community epidemiologist. And we are here to serve you. Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. You can give us a call at 312-738-1060, or you can call that number so we can funnel and talk to us. Again, if you want to hit me up on email, it's taxforus@gmail.com. And of course, we want you all to know that you are welcome. You are being embraced, and hopefully this has been for the edification of your mind, body, and spirit. Thank you so much, and we're going to wrap it up and sign out. All praises to Most High to keep us moving forward.